Okay, we'll start with public comment. First up is Bobby Forbes. And as I've got a few and we've got an hour's worth of interview, I'm going to limit the 3-minute comment, or institute the 3-minute rule.
Good evening, Bobby Forbes, 11850 Burns Avenue, Grand Terrace. I would like to say regarding the appointment, I support Doug Wilson for this position, and I believe that what he participated in the last number of months to wake up the eyes of the community and the council and the city was beneficial overall. And I'm sure some people had their feelings hurt, their toes might have hurt, and maybe a little bit more, but I think overall, he feels for this community. He's paid his time to the community, or he's paid his dues. He lives here. I think he would be beneficial to be sitting in that seat right there to our council. That's my say.
Thank you, Bobby. Next up is Jeff McConnell. Is your microphone working? Try it.
Mine? No, I can't hear when I speak out here. Can anyone hear when I speak into this microphone?
No. Not very well. Not very well. Okay, talk real loud. Okay.
Yeah, just speak right into the mic.
Yeah.
I'll just borrow yours.
I'll share.
Thank you. Jeff McConnell, Walnut Avenue. I too support Doug Wilson. It's me. I've said this many times before. I've gone to so many planning commission meetings that most people don't go to, that the people really don't understand Doug Wilson's qualifications and the skill sets that he brings to this council, to this community. He's served over 20 years on the planning commission. He's got over 40 years in business development. He's actually built part of Grand Terrace, several tracks up here in town. And most people don't know that. The skill sets that he brings from the private sector of the building community far outweighs everybody on this dais multiple times over. I think he would be very good in the knowledge base from the redevelopment knowledge of the new interim city manager from the public point of view. So that really needs to be understood. The voters voted no, and I feel like in other countries, they're a voting bloc, and they deserve representation like they do in Parliament in other countries. They usually have someone from their group, whatever, represent that portion in Parliament or wherever it may be. And I think it's an opportunity for the council, who some say have egg on their face from that, to show that they're willing to listen to the public, listen to the voters. I want to remind everybody at the last meeting what everybody said when I stood up here, and I basically said, no matter where we stand or stood on Measure C, that we're all here now. I said that, and even the mayor agreed with me. That we need to put somebody in here that is, time is of the essence, and we need somebody that has understanding and knowledge and skill sets to help bring Grand Terrace forward and make it stand on its own 2 feet fiscally sound. This is, you know, after that last meeting, I thought a lot of what went on, what's been going on, and, you know, the political battles that I've been involved in, and it's tearing us apart. We're starting to look like San Bernardino to the north of us. And look, they're in bankruptcy. Look where decades has taken them of bickering. You know, Mayor Holcomb was my mentor, and I saw a lot of that stuff up there. I used to go to that and follow it. And Councilman Sylvia, she even follows it for years. She knows that it's just destroyed the council, it's destroyed the community. Nobody wants to really live in there. That's why we all come to Grand Terrace. So what do we all have in common? The number one thing we all have in common, regardless of where we stand politically, is we all want to help save Grand Terrace. And that's where we stand tonight. Now, we're going to do what's best for Grand Terrace, or are we going to continue the political bickering? It's got to end. I don't want to continue the political bickering. I think appointing Doug Wilson will show everybody, show the Grand Terrace, because I've talked to a lot of people and they think that the money that was found is the fault of the council. Thank you very much. So I just want to see the bickering end, and I'm willing to
Thank
quit.
you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
I just had one question. I guess there's a little bit of an issue with the mic. Somebody had egg on their face. Who was that?
Council.
Okay.
Just from what I hear in the community.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Next is Norman Wright.
Honorable Mayor and members of the council and members of the community, I'm Norman Wright. My wife and I have lived here for about 8.5 years. Met Doug Wilson shortly after we moved here, and I speak in support of him tonight. I've known him in multiple different capacities. First and foremost, he is a man of integrity. His word is his bond, and he acts on what he thinks is truth. He's also a very good listener. I think that's been demonstrated in his service for the neighborhood of 20 years on the Planning Commission, as he sought to really understand people's positions so that he could make wise and intelligent responses to the proposals that came before that commission. He likes to gather the facts, evaluate them, and then make an intelligent response. Having served for about 20 years on the Planning Commission, a good portion of that time as the chairman, he's certainly demonstrated that he is very service-oriented. And I think that's important because what this community needs now is somebody who is here to benefit the members of the community through community service and have that as their primary objective. He's a family man. He's committed to the values that this community stands for, and he's demonstrated that in his own life. He's also very committed to his moral and religious beliefs, and they guide the way he lives his life, both in private and in public. He's consistent therein. He brings a wealth of business background to this city, and that would be of extraordinary benefit with the kinds of decisions that are going to have to be made over the next year or two as the city continues to go through the contractions and difficulties that it's faced with reduced funding. He's a self-employed businessman. He understands budgeting and finance and living within the available funds that would be available to the city. As a self-employed individual, he can make himself available to fulfill the responsibilities that he would have as a member of the City Council. He's a very highly qualified candidate who brings honor and hard work to the city, and I recommend Doug Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Next is Tom Comstock.
Good evening. My name is Tom Comstock. I live at 12395 Vivienda Avenue here in Grand Terrace. I served on the Planning Commission just shy of about 12 years, and I've served with two of the candidates that you have before you tonight, Doug Wilson and also Ryan Stevens. My time with Doug Wilson has been extended. In fact, when I came onto the commission, he was the chairman. My time with Ryan Stevens has been somewhat limited, maybe less than a year or so. I can tell you that both of those individuals are very sharp, they're very competent, and I have nothing but good things to say about both of them. But I'm here in support of Doug Wilson because I have seen some things on the Planning Commission that lead me to believe that he would make an extremely good city council member. When we first started on a commission, we were often confronted with many citizens who had very irate points of view and often were misunderstood, and there were at times very loud and irate and very disrespectful to other people in the audience. And as Doug was the chairman at that time, I saw him handle those situations with great grace and dignity. He also, one of the things that I heard one of the former speakers talked about is the background that he has. I think he would bring to this city council an opportunity to help the city solve a lot of the issues that we're having right now. And I think the number one issue, I think we all would be in agreement, is that we need to increase the tax base in the city, and we need to bring more money into the city coffers to be able to support the city. And I can tell you, after many discussions with Doug on these very issues, he has a lot of good ideas, and I think he would be a tremendous asset to helping the council and the city in achieving those goals. I also have to say that Doug's a very genuine person. You pretty much know where he stands on an issue when you sit down and talk with him, and he's, again, a man of integrity and does a great job. So tonight I'd like to speak in support of Doug Wilson and would ask the council to vote that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Next up is John Smith.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I hope Doug Wilson sits with you soon. I would like to obviously support Doug, and I have to say that he's a man of priority. I've seen his priorities, and I've listened to him, I've read his priorities. Speaking on behalf of Doug, his priority is the city of Grand Terrace, the same way he has a priority with the Grand Terrace Lions Club. I've seen it, I'm there. The same way he has a priority with his church, the same way he has a priority with his family. But right now we're dealing with the priority of the city. And I think that Doug's forever experience with the Planning Commission is just one example of his priority, the city of Grand Terrace. Another example is this Proposition C. Win, lose, or draw, Doug has priorities. And he sticks by them honestly and with integrity, and he means only the best for the city of Grand Terrace. And so therefore, I hope that that chair is reserved for Doug. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Next is Birga Lesser.
Bürgerleser 22950 Jensen Court. I'm here speaking on behalf of Ryan Stevenson. After I saw and heard that Mr. Wilson was applying to be on the city council, I just went into my memory bank and I found that he lost twice running for city council and lost once for being a mayor of this little city. I don't see how we can elect Mr. Wilson for council when he lost and the city voted against him, and now he wants to sit on the city council. Also, he and his friends are bashing our mayor, our city council, and therefore I don't think he really deserves to be on the city council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Birga. Next is Terry McGuire. I saw you there. There you are.
Terry McGuire, 22790 Kentfield Street, Grand Terrace. For once, I agree with Jeffrey McConnell. The people have voted. The people have voted 3 times for Doug Wilson, and they've said no. And I think that the council should take that into consideration. In addition, I think that we only need to think back a couple months ago when, if it were up to Doug Wilson, this building would be rented out, and this council would be gone, and this would be some kind of different city. And we could look back in his writing and see how he bashed a council and a city. This is not a man of integrity. This is a man that will do and say anything to be in control or sit in that seat. And he'll change anything he has to do. The man is not qualified to sit on that council seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And last but not least, we have a special guest, former Councilman Bernardo Sandoval. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Welcome back.
Only briefly. I'm here, I could spend time talking about why I would be opposed to Doug Wilson. I think that many people here don't know the intricacies of what has really gone on or the intents and motivations of his heart. I'll choose not to do that. Let me focus instead on Ryan's heart, his motivations. I always go to motivations because it is a reflection of the actions that will take place. His heart is in the right place. I've worked with him on difficult issues. We had challenging conversations where it would have been easy to be offended, our opinions conflicted, and it was all okay. Because there's capacity inside of that man. The capacity to do what is right for the people, not for himself. The ability to sacrifice oneself for good governance. That is something that is desperately needed. You guys all on this council have been through some very difficult things. We have been through some difficult times. You need somebody on this council that has the capacity to do what is right for good governance, that will not pander, tell people what they want to hear, but speak with capacity and truth, able to build relationships with Colton, with the Colton School Board and other municipalities. Because many of the problems that we face as a community are going to depend upon those relationships in order to bring about the right result for the people. In the end, that's what this is all about. Good governance for the people. It's never been about anything else, regardless of nefarious intentions or motivations or whatever. I've worked with Ryan. I've tested him in conversations where he didn't even know that I was testing him. I worked with him. I challenged him. He is a good leader because he can also follow. And that's important in a member of this council. And he is a valuable asset because he brings intangible strengths to this council that would allow this council to produce amazing results for the people. And it's my seat that we're talking about, and I strongly support Ryan Stevens. And I want to clearly say, what was stated in the paper is absolutely wrong. There is a tape recording of the entire incident. What Mark Josted stated in the paper is absolutely wrong. And if you listen to the recording, you'll find that it was just a hit piece and nothing more than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernardo. That's all the speaker slips I have. I guess we'll move into...
I wanted to bring up one thing that is very important. Ken Henderson, when we met January 28th, we had three choices. One would have been an election at a polling place, one a mail ballot, and doing nothing at all, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
But we didn't, with the numbers though that we had from the register of voters, we thought it was going to be somewhere between 31,000, and it ended up only being
5,000. There was a special election alternative available to the council and a special election by mail ballot. Based upon the estimates we received in 2010, we anticipated that we would receive an estimate from the registrar of voters approximating $45,000 to $55,000. However, we learned the day after the council took its action, we received a correspondence from the registrar of voters which indicated that the special election would actually be $4,400 because it would be coupled with a general election with a large ballot. The special election by mail ballot, the estimate in 2010 was approximately $31,000, and the 2014 estimate was approximately $55,000.
Now, all of those options are gone because of the time frames that the government code requires, the 114 days prior to an election.
I believe, this is from memory, so don't quote me, but I believe the council must either schedule an election or fill the seat in some form or fashion by March 15th of this year.
Okay, so then we still have time to do the June ballot? yeah, it's 144 days, so it wouldn't, yeah. So we wouldn't make the June ballot.
You would not make the June ballot, ma'am.
Okay, so the reason I bring this up is because ideally, it would have been best, in my opinion, to have an election. Unfortunately, we don't have control of the staffing at the county and when they can respond to us. So what would have been a nominal amount of money, we don't have that choice anymore. So I just wanted to bring that out. It's, you know, unfortunate that we didn't have that information. That's all I had.
Okay. All right, we'll start the interview process. Monty, bring in Mr. Wilson.
Well, are we going to, are we going to be asking them in order, or will we be selecting?
We'll just rotate.
Okay, thank you.
You have to keep track of the order.
Sure.
While we're waiting, Sarah Benoit from Congressman Miller's office is here. Sarah, do you have anything for the community? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your attention to us. Welcome, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to indicate for the council's consideration in the audience, we've been able to adjust the timer to 20 minutes. So that will help in moving this process along.
Okay. Okay, a little bit ground rules. We're going to devote 20 minutes to each candidate. Each council member has a couple of questions that they would like to ask you. So arithmetic would say try and limit your answers to 2 minutes per question. First, we're going to start out with just please share your background, education, work, and community experience.
I'll be glad to. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and council members. As you know, I've been involved in land development and budgeting for 41 years, primarily in this area, but also I've handled jurisdictions all the way up and down Southern California. I'm mainly a conflict resolution individual at this point. I started out as a kind of a customer service guy. I got a whole load of pieces of paper that were given to me one day and said, here, this is what you're going to do. And that's pretty much how I learned. And then after that, I started as a superintendent when I was about maybe 20, 22. And building superintendents kind of act like a orchestra leader. You know, you've got a symphony you've got to put together in a certain amount of time. You've got an orchestra that's right there and ready to go, and you're supposed to be able to lead them in the right direction. About 35 years ago, I asked for the opportunity to come into the office because I could see that's really where the team was. And I went into the office. I worked for actually Griffin Development, who built Foxborough and Honey Ridge, and I was actually the superintendent on that project. And it gave me an opportunity to find out what teamwork was. You had to learn how to get along with people. As simple as that. Each individual member of the team had something to lend to the ultimate result. And so I got involved in the project management portion. I worked for a developer in Newport, or worked for Griffin for 12 years, worked for a developer in Newport Beach for 12 years, and then had an opportunity to be the regional director of land development for Toll Brothers. Toll Brothers being a national corporation. They handle where houses are $200,000, we wish. Their houses were for $600,000 to start. And they built basically on spec. As the regional director of land development, my forte was everything from Ventura County all the way down to the southern edge. And it was a real challenge. Did that for 5 years. We built, we managed about $100 million budgets per year. So it was quite an operation. As things slowed down, ended up out in the desert. There I really got the opportunity to be involved in cowboy, because the desert is even more cowboy than this was before it became less than cowboy. And you know, I'm sure a new city manager can really relate to that circumstance. And it was a tougher road to hoe, but it definitely was an education. And there it was really important to make sure that you did dust control. You know, here it's a little different things. You keep the streets clean, but over there you did dust control no matter what you did. Did that for about 5 years, and then when the economy took its ultimate crash, I've been a consultant. And as a consultant, still, that's what I do. And one of my opportunities here recently had to do with a code modification through the city of San Bernardino. Now, you would think that might be the hard way to go. And we actually tried to do something in this case with a variance. But the staff decided that maybe a code modification might be the best for the project. We worked with the staff, and when things started to wear down and we weren't making progress, we got the city manager involved, got the councilman, who they have districts in the city of San Bernardino, and got some of the other city council members involved, got the backing for that and processed, and I'm happy to report that we were able to get through their legislative review already. And we're headed towards a planning commission hearing, and it should get approved by the city council within a couple of weeks on the project. So those are the kinds of things I do. I'm involved in a project in Borrego Springs. It's 480 units of RV park, really unusual situation, but it'll benefit the community quite a bit. And one thing I learned very soon in my career is you don't do things invisible. There are people around you all the time, and you have to deal with them, and you have to gain an understanding of what they need and to be able to service those needs, and then you will be able to integrate your project into a working mode. So, no matter what we do, it's always, kind of a people situation, and that's what I do, and that's what I've been doing for the last 41 years. Real quick, I'm a 35-year resident. I'm a 21-year planning commissioner, recently retired, as most of you know. So I've just stopped my service to the planning commission. I'm also a Lion. I'm a husband, a father, a grandfather. Been married for 36 years to the greatest lady in the world, and it's been a good ride.
Okay, we'll start off, Sylvia.
Well, these don't quite flow, so I'm going to start with question. If you were selected, you understand in November your seat and another would be up for election. Do you agree to focus and engage in teamwork on the council?
Absolutely. You all have great talents. In fact, I wrote this in my application. I don't know if you got that for sure, but I know each one of us has talents, and each one of us brings a great thing to this kind of a body. And so as far as I'm concerned, I just want to lend my voice to that. And I understand that it's only good for 8 to 10 months, plus or minus. That's not a problem. The opportunity to serve, when I served on the planning commission, it wasn't a consideration at that time. It's not a consideration now either.
Thank you.
Councilmember Darcy.
Mr. Wilson, how would you describe your decision-making process, and if you were selected to serve on the council, besides the agenda packet, staff reports, and public testimony, what would you consider before voting on an agenda item?
Man, I'm an over-analyzer. My wife will tell you that. I'm not one of those kind of guys that usually will just kind of make flippant decisions. If anything, I will carefully analyze every particular item in the agenda packet and go through it. And to be honest, since 2006, I've been paying attention. So it's the same circumstance. I'll go through those things and gain an understanding. And if I've got a question or a problem, I'll ask staff. We've got a great city manager on board. He's got a lot of authority and a lot of experience behind him. I'm sure via the mayor, who's the individual that I need to direct my communication with, the city manager can help. So I'll do my homework.
Use that one too, huh? Please share your perspective on the financial condition of the city and any thoughts you have on making the city financially strong.
Regardless of what has taken place in the last 6 or 8 months, we are still in a precarious situation. And I know that, and I'm aware of it. And so I think, obviously, we're going to have to be careful. One thing that I know in my heart here is that we have very little property to deal with. We do have some infill pieces, and we have some stuff over in the southwest corner. When we look at it in the southwest corner, we say, well, wait a minute, that stuff's tied up with RDA, but it doesn't matter who owns the property. In the long run, if we can attract businesses, there is a golden rule. When you put the box on the place and you improve something, you've now raised the value of that property, and we've already seen what happens when property values raise. So that's our goal. We have to be intelligent. We can't just go out there and make a mess out of the town. I don't think anybody wants that, even for signs for that matter. But bottom line is it takes some intelligent planning and some negotiation with folks. I was happy to see the new AutoZone breaking ground. Went over there and saw the guy, and he showed me the plans, and that was a terrific thing. Every new box that goes on the properties within the city limits raises our values, and we then have an opportunity to have more tax revenue headed towards us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Doug, there's a great deal of challenges facing our city. We want to learn about your problem-solving abilities as a team member. Can you tell us about a difficult problem that you were directly involved in turning around, your role and the outcome?
Will do. I do some things in the County of San Diego. County of San Diego isn't much different than this organization. Actually, for several years, you could fire a cannon through the place and not hit anybody. You would have thought that it would have been simpler to process things, but as it turns out, as a consultant, sometimes what I get are assignments, and those specific assignments limit my ability to move forward with other items when I can see there might be a problem. In this case, this 480-unit RV park, what finally, to make a long story short, they found that the agency had changed their requirements so far as grading within an alluvial plain. I could see what the problem was. Well, let's face it, guys, alluvial plains are all over California, so how can you say that you can't do that? But the solution was not to just sit there and whine. The people that I worked for spent a year fighting, trying to get the drainage situation squared away. And then one day, I was sitting in an attorney's office, and I colored up a map. And there was all kinds of green on it. I brought it into the owner, and I held it up, and I said, you see all this green? This is all money you spend, and you don't get anything for it. Now, let me suggest something. Since they've decided that you've got a moratorium, let's stick real close to the land manager at the County of San Diego and find out what he thinks will get us down the pipe. Let's quit messing around with everybody else. Let's find out what he thinks. He's our team player. Let's find out what he thinks. We did. And right shortly after that, we were able to actually re-engineer the project, get the tentative map reapproved on a minor mod, which for the planning people means that you didn't have to go through the Board of Supervisors to get it approved. And when we did that, we exchanged squeezing the project down by 25%. Now, if you can imagine, if you take a big project and you squeeze it down by 25%, and it's still good, still attractive to be able to sell, you just lost a lot of cost in relation to grading, sewer, water, storm drain, streets. Everything underneath the ground is all smaller. And it made a $5 million difference, made the project worthwhile. See, it was the ability to sit down with people that were really talented at the county, recognize that they knew how to lead us through the process, listen to those things, transfer that information to the people that I was working for, and then get a consensus, and then not let go. Keep going. Just keep hanging in there with it, and just don't get tired. And we got her squared away. It got approved, and now we've got a tentative map that's good until 2017. So it was really worthwhile for those folks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tell us what interests you about joining council, and why do you want to join at a time that is most challenging for the city?
Yeah, it is a challenging time. There's no doubt about it. I want to help. I want to lend my voice to the choir. You know, actually, there was a point where previous Councilman Bernardo Sandoval said, while we were heading towards things about the tax and so on, where he said, you know, I'm kind of surprised you didn't want to help. You know what? I want to help. I've got my head in a circumstance where I want to be able to help. I want to be able to add my voice and my talents. You know, the mayor's got some great talents. He's got, you know, that military discipline. He's got some real out front thinking. Jackie, you've got great talents. I've talked to you, Darcy, every one of you. You know, Councilwoman Robles, you've got great talents. I've talked to all you. I know you all, and I know you've got great talents. If I can integrate something and help, that's what I'm here for. If it turns out that you've got a better talent base someplace else, terrific. But I think after 21 years in the Planning Commission, I think I understand the game, and after working with all the jurisdictions up and down Southern California, City of Los Angeles, County of Los Angeles, Ventura, Ontario, Rialto, I mean, you know, I listed about 40 different jurisdictions. I think I know what to do. So that's what I'd like to do, is help.
Thank you. I'm going to change this question a little bit, but I'll make it the same for everyone. How will you be an effective representative for all Grand Terrace residents despite your position for or against, doesn't matter, Measure C?
That's over with. Measure C is done. And bottom line is, too, as we've seen, the city's made some fantastic adjustments based on the idea that we were going to have to survive Armageddon. All right, it's not quite Armageddon at this point, and I wouldn't say that we're out of the woods. We've still got tweaks and things to just like we talked about earlier. There are lots of things that we need to do to be able to keep the city sustainable. The city manager has a lot of opportunity and a lot of ability. As you know, it's the city manager is the council's guide through this kind of circumstance. And so I'd like to be able to help again with the talents and, you know, add my talents to yours and move forward with the city manager and the intelligence that he brings to this circumstance.
Is there anything else you feel the council and the public should know?
Anything else? I come from a long line of United States citizens. Actually, I track my people back to 1630 in this country. And I'm pretty proud to say that I had a 5 times great-grandfather who was who actually was in the Revolutionary War. And I've actually got a certificate, a petition for receiving money in relation to his service in the war. So I know that this country was founded on people that started in an agrarian society, worked their tails off, and then had to defend their opportunity to be able to say what they needed to say to be able to be a country. And you know, this world has changed quite a bit over time. It became an industrial revolution, and after that, I think we lost a little bit because in the long run, we produce a lot of paper. but every time I pick up a pencil or something, it says it's made in another country. So that scares me. And so as far as I'm concerned, I want to be a producer. I want to produce things. I want to create things. It's what I've done all my life. And so I'd like to be, maybe when you talk about legacies, that's what I'd like to, that's what my legacy would like to be.
This is kind of a summation question for you. It's the last question. Do you have anything you want to add? This is your chance to talk about any other thoughts or ideas that you have for the city.
I'd like to see a truce. I'd like to see all the folderol that's taken place over the last year and even into the few months that have gone into this year. I'd like to see a truce. I'd like to see peace to abide and nothing but our opportunity to produce and move ourselves forward. That's what I'd like. Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Doug, when you use the word truce, it makes me think of a war. When you use the word truce, when you said that right now, I was thinking, okay, I associate truce with a war.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my concern is that if there was a war and your position on that and to close City Hall and to do some of those other things, what has changed for you?
What has changed for me?
From 3 or 4 months ago? From someone who wanted us to be a full contract city and to close City Hall and do some of those other things, to now you want to work with us as a team and you want to join us and you're emulating our city manager. What has changed for you?
I've always had the best interests of the city in mind from the start. That's my thought pattern. It's just that I saw it when it started. Actually, I watched them unload, literally, the books into the city when it wasn't a city. The first 5 or 6 years, there was no city hall. I have pictures of when they started to construct this thing. And I know what it was as it started to kind of move up. And I honestly felt like things got out of hand. And now we've been through this, I don't know what you want to call it, but nothing but pain and torture. A lot of smoke, and a lot of fire. And I know you've been through that, and I understand that, and I can appreciate it. So the bottom line is now I want to be able to help. I want to be able to help grow. That's why. It's always been that the idea that good fruit comes from good policy. That's it. Not personal for me.
Okay.
Is it?
Okay,
We're
thank
getting
you.
into council
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time talking with us.
Thank you, Mayor.
At
That was 20 minutes.
Council Member
Thank you.
Mitchell's request, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll get started again. Just take them out completely, huh? We can paint the pillow. Good evening, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you for having an interest in wanting to be considered for this position and serving the city.
Thank you.
We're going to start off with giving you an opportunity to tell us and the community about your background, your education, your work, and/or community experience. And the way we'll work is we're basically allotting 20 minutes, and we have 10 questions, so try and limit your questions to 2 minutes, or your responses to 2 minutes or less, and we'll get through this.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background.
I was a union sheet metal worker for 36 years. I had a union shop here in Grand Terrace from 1980 to 1985. I've worked everywhere from Tijuana to Valencia to the desert to the sea. I have a degree in construction inspection and code enforcement. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, Purple Heart, President's Unit Citation. I was married, I have 3 children. I have one that lives here in town, and my first home that I bought in 1973. I've been a resident here for 41 years. And I've been a good resident in this town, and I think I want nothing but the best for this town. I've seen a lot of growth in this town. I remember when there was not even a stop sign in this town. Where Rex was in the corner of the barbershop. The poor gentleman just passed away last year. And so I've seen a lot of development, you know. And I think it's going in the right direction. You know, we just need to find a way to get more revenue into this town without going about it in the correct procedure and correct way, you know, which is going to take a lot of thought. Because if it's done wrong, then it's not right. Let me see. I've covered I have 268 college credits. I went to Palomar College, Riverside City College, and Maricosta College. Trying to think now. The largest job that I ever ran was California Adventure Hollywood Backlot. It was a $10 million job. I was superintendent, and I ran 65 men. Believe it or not, the hardest job of the 65 men and the $10 million job was Johnny couldn't get along with Billy, and Billy couldn't get along with Sammy, you know? It wasn't the job, you know? You had to team up 2 men that could get to work together. I never fired anybody, you know? If I had trouble with someone, I would call the owner and let the owner take care of it, you know? I don't alienate people, you know? I have no enemies. And I volunteer at the Senior Citizens Center Monday through Friday on Grand Terrace Road. I go to the Veterans Hospital quite a bit. I'm 140% disabled veteran, you know. Let me see. I think that just about covers it, you know.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Sylvia.
Okay. If selected, you understand that in November your seat and another will be up for election. Do you agree to focus and engage in teamwork on the council?
You know, I have trouble hearing. I lost my hearing aids. Could you?
If selected, you understand that in November your seat and another will be up for election. Do you agree to focus and engage in teamwork on the council?
Yes, I do, Council Member.
Okay.
Mr. Sanchez, how would you describe your decision-making process if you were selected to serve on the council? Besides our agenda packet that we're given, staff reports, and public testimony, what would you consider before voting on an agenda item?
Well, being, if nominated for the open position, I'd be exactly a junior member, and I would focus on what the senior members and the mayor have to say. And then after much thought, and only after much thought, I would interject my thought, you know. But that is how I would proceed.
Thank you.
Please share with us your perspective on the financial condition of the city and any thoughts you have on making the city financially stronger.
Well, I understand between Eureka and Tijuana, everybody's in dire need, and I don't know what's going wrong, you know, but Grand Terrace is in serious trouble, like San Bernardino is, you know, and my perspective would be, you know, to find out why the big Grand Terrace building is empty. Why can't we get like a Cardenas in there or something, you know, or talk to the developers and see if they can't work with us, you know, because they've been vacant for so long is because the rents are so high, you know, and it's not something that Grand Terrace can do by themselves, but, you know, communication would be a good starting point, you know.
Thank you. Jackie.
Mr. Sanchez, there's a great deal of challenges facing the city. We want to know about your problem-solving ability as a team member. Can you please tell us about a difficult problem that you were directly involved in turning around? Please walk us through the project, your role, and the outcome.
Well, I'm not involved in any current projects, you know. I'm a private citizen, but I'm repeating myself now. It's just, I understand we have a Starbucks coming in, a McDonald's coming in, you know. We had the new Walgreens coming in, you know, so there's some good development coming this way, and I encourage good development, you know. Where we could use, there's no such thing as too much competition, you know. Another grocery store wouldn't hurt, you know. Never be afraid of competition. When I was in business, I always told myself that, you know. You know, and we've had a lot of wonderful businesses in the past. We had a yogurt shop here one time, and that guy did terrific. And one reason, for some reason or another, he packed up and moved to Redlands, you know. And, you know, there's a yogurt shop would make a lot of money and bring in revenue, you know. But that's just a small, you know, Mr. TV, you know, was here for a long time, but he couldn't compete with Walmart, you know. And everybody is tightening their belt. Grand Terrace has been, Realty has been around for years. I worked for Phyllis Forbes. I had a real estate license at one time, and I worked for her. And her niece has consolidated it and got a jewelry store there now, you know, so everybody's tightening their belt, you know, and we need to help the businesses in Grand Terrace and do whatever we can and have wonderful places like Wilden Pumps, you know, which is, you can't go wrong with a business like Wilden Pumps, you know. They got a big heart. And they volunteer, they donate, and those are the kind of places and businesses that I would like to see in the city of Grand Terrace.
Thank you, sir. Should I go ahead? Okay. I have one additional question, Mr. Sanchez. Tell us about what interests you. Let me ask that again. Tell us what interests you about joining council and why you want to join at a time that is most challenging for the city.
Well, I think I have leadership skills. And I think I've proven that being a superintendent, running major jobs, owning my own company, having a real estate license, having a contractor's license in sheet metal. And I think that, I know it's a position that it's almost a voluntary position, you know, there's very little stipend that comes with it, you know, but I'm retired, you know, and I would dearly desire to be sitting in that vacant seat.
Thank you.
Please tell me how you will be an effective representative for all Grand Terrace residents despite your position, whether it was for or against Measure C?
Well, I don't know if I should plead the fifth on Measure C, you know?
You don't have to tell me how you voted. I'm just asking how you would represent all citizens.
Well, to the best of my ability, that's what I would do. To the best of my ability, I would encourage all the residents, all 13,600 of us, to pull together, you know, because this is one of the top 10 safest cities in the United States. And we have more police officers in this town per city than any city in California. Governor Brown said that himself, you know, per capita. It was in the paper, you know. He didn't say that himself, but it was in the paper, you know. So you're talking about safe, and then we have the volunteer services patrol, you know, and you can't ask for a better place to live.
Is there anything else you feel the council and the public should know?
Is there anything else?
That you feel the council or the public should know?
Well, all I have to say is let's all pull together. You know, we need to pull together, be a unit. You know, we don't need disagreement, you know. It's okay to have disagreement, you know. There's nothing wrong with disagreement, you know. Two wrongs don't make a right. You can lock heads, lock horns, but we need to all put our heads together and come up with the best way, the best value, the best thought, and move forward in the right direction to prosper.
Okay, final question. Do you have anything you want to add? This is your chance to talk about any other thoughts or ideas that you have for Grand Terrace.
That's an interesting question. I think that we need to put a telescope up on top of Blue Mountain. I used to jog up there when I was 36 years old, before they had a gate and locked it up. And I took 2 years of astronomy, and I love astronomy. And Pluto is going to be, our satellite Sputnik is going to be passing Pluto in 2015. And there'll be some beautiful stargazing on a given dark night, you know, if we were allowed to open it up with some kind of volunteers, you know. And I'm going off on a tangent now, you know, but I just, I think the most beautiful thing that's happened to this town is this wonderful, wonderful magnet school that we got here in Grand Terrace. You can't beat it. It's probably one of the best in the United States, you know. And we're going to develop some brilliant, brilliant children. They're going to come out of there, you know. They're already, Grand Terrace Junior High School is one of the best, you know. And our children are excelling. And, you know, I'm from the old typewriter, the paper world, you know. And we're going to have some outstanding Grand Terrace citizens in the future.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you coming out and introducing yourself to us and the community. And again, we appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I brought a picture of myself when I was 18 years old.
Wow. Thank you again, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you.
Everybody good? Okay. One to go. Welcome, Mr. Stevens. We thank you for taking an interest in wanting to serve the community, and we're going to take you through a little process and let the rest of the community and the council get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
We've devoted 20 minutes to your answers. There's roughly 10 questions, so you can figure, do the arithmetic, about try and limit yourself to 2 minutes per answer. The first one is, please share with us your background, education, work, and community experience.
Sure. So I received my undergraduate degree in biology and did research biology for many years, published papers. And my wife and I moved to Southern California because she wanted to attend Loma Linda Dental School. At that point in my life, I got involved in business and decided that my biology degree no longer supported my business experience, and went back to the University of Redlands and received an MBA in business administration. And through that process, was able to study at the Institute of Economics and Political Studies in Cambridge in the UK. So my educational background is a mix of science and a master's degree in business. For my work experience, I currently own 2 companies that are based in Ontario, and have a small staff on payroll that work for me throughout both of those organizations. And then throughout my community involvement here, I've been involved in a variety of things, from serving on the Planning Commission to serving in the Budget Advisory Committee, which met this year and reviewed the city's financial position. I've also been part of the board of the Foundation of Grand Terrace and helped with a variety of community service projects, from painting graffiti walls to helping with community days and all the good work that they're doing there at the foundation.
Thank you. Sylvia.
Okay, I'm getting mixed up. Number 8, okay. If selected, you understand that in November, your seat and another would be up for election. Do you agree to focus and engage in teamwork on the council?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think our council at this point needs all the teamwork it can get. We have some big challenges ahead of us. It's unfortunate that this seat is up for re-election in November. It's just at the time when somebody may be able to get their feet wet. They're going to be up for re-election if they decide to move forward. But yeah, certainly I would be fully committed and available to work with fellow council members and staff.
Mr. Stevens. Please describe your decision-making process, and if you are selected to serve on the council, besides the agenda packet, the staff reports, and the public testimony, what would you consider before voting on an agenda item?
That is an interesting question. You wanted me to describe my decision process in regards to putting my application in for this position, or in general as it relates to agenda items?
If you were selected to serve on the council, besides the agenda package, the staff reports, and public testimony, what would you consider before voting on an agenda item?
You know, I think it's important to consider the public at large, anybody who reaches out to you via email, or anybody who stops you in the street to talk to you a little bit. Those are all important factors to consider. In addition to all the technicalities of everything that comes out in the agenda packet, it's important to get a sense and feel of the community and make sure that we're always acting in the best interests of what Grand Terrace needs and desires for the city.
Thank you. Brian, please share with us your perspective on the financial condition of the city and any thoughts you have on making our city financially stronger.
So the financial condition of our city is, as you guys know, very tenuous. We were lucky and blessed to learn that some of the ROPS payments had come to the city and that those could be used for general fund obligations. Without that, we were in even a much more dire situation. So the future, the very near-term future for our city is going to require very strict fiscal guidance. And in working with our finance team and with the oversight of the council and the community, that's going to require some important oversight, because we have important decisions to make. To stabilize our finances, there are probably a number of things that we need to do, including continuing to look at our own spending within the city to determine if there's any additional way that we can cut back on the things that we're already doing. Throughout the Budget Advisory Committee, we looked at a lot of those options, and none of those cuts were easy. They were all very, very difficult. But should we find any area where that money would be better used elsewhere, it's certainly our obligation to look at it. But more importantly, I think it's incredibly important that we look to the future and how we can continue to stimulate a tax base here within the city. There are certainly some possibilities for us in future development near the I-215 corridor, finishing the Barton Town Center there where the new Stater Brothers are, and filling some of, hopefully filling some of the vacant properties within our city right now. Those are going to be important to ensuring that we have future stability within the city of Grand Terrace.
All right. Brian, there's a great deal of challenges facing the city. We want to know about your problem-solving ability as a team member. Can you tell us about a difficult problem that you were directly involved in turning around? Please walk us through the project, your role, and the outcome.
That's an interesting question. I've been involved in a lot of problem solvings. You know, in my position right now, I serve as a business consultant. And so I'm constantly walking into organizations that have challenges and developing strategies to meet those challenges and overcome those challenges. One of which I can give you from my past experience was an organization that was starting from the ground up. They had a product idea, but they didn't know how to bring it to market. And we developed a full strategy in a teamwork environment where we were working with individuals that were already within the organization and individuals that were outside the organization to build that company from a startup phase to over $1.3 million in revenue in just over 13 months. Working with other individuals is incredibly important, and I don't feel like it's ever the time or place to dismiss somebody based upon their disagreement with you. You know, over this last year, it's been a very tumultuous time in our city, and I have made it a practice of mine to engage in dialogue with people who disagreed with me, to seek out alternative opinions other than the ones that I held for myself. I've met with business owners at their place of business who held very different views than I did, and we were able to have civil discussions and talk about our different perspectives on the issue and how we move forward. I've conducted town hall meetings and stayed after those town hall meetings to have discussions with individuals. I've invited people who were opposed to my viewpoint into my own home to have discussions with them there. So throughout this entire year, it's been a practice of mine to be consistently engaged in hearing alternative viewpoints and to dialogue with people who may or may not agree with my own stance.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and ask the next question. Tell us what interests you about joining council, and why do you want to join at a time that is most challenging for the city?
That is a very good question. The seat that you occupy right now is a difficult one. And to be honest with you, the challenges of anybody that sits behind that dais right now are so incredibly severe. I mean, it's going to be a hard job. For me, what interests me is that I have had a long interest in the health and welfare of this city and this community. Throughout my involvement in the foundation, my involvement in the Planning Commission, my involvement in the Budget Advisory Committee, I've wanted to see Grand Terrace thrive and be a healthy community. Essentially, we're all neighbors here, and we certainly need to act sometimes a little bit more neighborly toward one another. But that vacant council seat interests me because I want to see this community do well. I want to see us come out of this challenge stronger than we were before. And I believe that we can do that with sound leadership. And I think we have good people on the dais right now, and I'd like to lend my voice to that leadership and direction that you've already provided to make sure that we can navigate this storm.
Thank you, Ryan.
How will you be an effective representative for all Grand Terrace residents despite your role for or against Measure C?
So, Measure C was a dividing point within our community. And most importantly, even more importantly than I think who ends up filling that vacant seat, one of the things I want to stress tonight is the fact that we as a community, we need to learn how to debate civilly. I was involved in a lot of those discussions, and most of those discussions, we were able to debate civilly. Mr. Wilson and I were talking in the community room, and he and I disagree. I vehemently disagree with a lot of his stances, but that doesn't mean that I have to devalue the person or cut down his contribution to this community over the last 21 years. We disagree on an issue, but that doesn't mean that we have to fall into this trap of making personal attacks against one another. It doesn't mean that we have to engage in some of the nasty stuff that's gone on online. We need to, as a community, to learn how to debate and elevate our discourse with one another. So throughout the Measure C, I took a position that I felt was best for our community to move forward. And I think at this point, we need to move past whatever happened with Measure C and learn to work together with one another as neighbors. Because the only way that we come out of this is together.
Is there anything else you feel the council and the public should know?
There have been some things published and said as of late that don't pass the basic pale of credibility. And it ties in with my discussion on feeling as though we need to elevate our discourse within the community. And I think it's really important that as we move forward, we look to build bridges as opposed to burn bridges. I'm going to do my full effort to make sure that I can lend whatever experience I have throughout the community and in business to this council and this community as a whole. And we're going to move forward from here and not look back.
Last one. Do you have anything to add? This is your chance to talk about any other thoughts or ideas that you have for Grand Terrace.
Two open-ended questions, one right after the other. To add, I think that, like I said before, some of our potential in the future lies across the property that sits in the I-215 corridor and some of the other commercial areas that we have to develop within the city. I think it's really important that we as a community realize that we can remain a bedroom community while still having reasonable and well-planned development. And it's that reasonable and well-planned development that's going to help us move forward as a community and help us better the city that we've all come to love. More importantly, too, Grand Terrace is somewhat of a small fish in a big pond of San Bernardino County. And I think it's really important for our council and our city leaders to venture outside our city limits, to build bridges within the county and within other cities as well, because Grand Terrace could get overlooked easily without building those relationships and those connections. So should I be chosen for the seat, that's certainly something that I'd like to look to do, to build relationships with other public officials throughout the region so that we can make sure that Grand Terrace is always given a fair shake at what comes up.
Thank you, Ryan, for wanting to serve and telling the community about yourself. Now it's time for us to figure out what we're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes. Marty, if you could bring the other two back in. That's why John Gady's not doing much of taking pictures. I wonder if you're getting pictures of
His room?
restroom.
Yeah.
Welcome you all back. Now I'll bring this back for discussion by the council or any motions.
I just want to talk about process.
Okay?
I think the community deserves to hear our thinking process out loud on all of these candidates. So my understanding is this corrected parliamentary procedure. If someone makes a motion and seconds, it's for discussion, and then we can, what would be the, how do we do it so we get people to share in our thought processes?
What do you mean by people? Community?
Well, we don't do it just like make a motion and there's no dies for a second, or we just go without discussion and we vote on it.
The community has already had its opportunity to speak.
No, I'm not asking for the community to speak. I'm saying for the community to listen to how we arrive at our decision.
You can share your thought process with the community.
Okay, so then I would like to start with just some general comments.
Okay.
Okay. I have been guilty of engaging in some of the lower forms of the civil debate, and I have spent a great deal of time not sleeping, looking at archives of the city, and my own personal experience with being in this position of seeking an appointment and then having to run again. First of all, I want to apologize to Doug Wilson because I did make the statement that he ran 3 times and the citizens didn't elect you. Well, I ran 2 times and I sought an appointment 1 time. And it wasn't until the 3rd time that I was selected. The other thing is that there were, in every campaign, there are sins committed. And this council has functioned in a collegial way because we have put aside the campaign. There was allegations made that I was part of the Walt Stankiewicz, Bernardo Sandoval coalition. We did have a discussion, but because Mel Abiso, who is just disliked in this community, came to me and said, I'm willing to work with the citizens, I'm changing my ways, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we have what we need for the Grand Terrace High School. I had no idea we were going to have a resignation, but I knew this, that when someone says to me, I pledge to work on behalf of the citizens and ask for my support, I gave it. I got blowback that people were going into La Pasta Italia and saying, oh no, you can't work with her, she's a bad person because of Mel Abiso. I almost felt like bringing my iPod in here to say, do I have an earpiece, Mel? Hello? Tell me what I'm supposed to do or think. That did not happen. The other thing we know, too, in this last campaign, that, to be honest, it was every man and woman for themselves. Even if there were 3 seats and there could be 3 votes, there were campaign things done that were to ensure you to vote for only 1 person, even though you can vote for 3. Don't accept a sign from 3 people, even though you could support 3 people. So come on, let's be honest. You know, campaigns are campaigns, and there are going to be hurt feelings, and I do not want to serve 3 years with this continued acrimony in the city. There are camps in this city, and each person here represents one. And so I would be very disappointed because we failed to have the right information to do an election. The common theme was, you know, I would say a truce. And I have said to members of the public, I feel like I have egg on my face because of how we did not have the correct information on our finances. So I think it's time for us to show the community that we can put a decade of silliness behind us. I mean, it's just horrible what city council members in the past did to other city council members, what city managers and assistant city managers did to other city managers. And I would be disappointed if this council couldn't show that we're big enough to take the risk to pick somebody tonight and make ourselves work with each other for the betterment of this city, because we are in deep trouble. And if we do not change the pattern of our behavior, we are doomed to continue to repeat this cycle after cycle after cycle. And I will not take up any more of your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to share that I met with Doug, and he shared a very long list of things that he'd done within this community, and some really great accomplishments. And I too see his heart and love for this community, and definitely service to the Planning Commission and other aspects of our city. I've not met with anyone else. I've not met with Mr. Sanchez or with Ryan. I've heard rumors that I've asked members of the community to throw their name in and take up application for this open seat. I want to publicly say I have not seeked out anyone to throw their name, and I believe that a personal interest has to be put forth. I don't think it has to come from a council member or anyone else. I think that that personal drive needs to come from within. So I want to publicly say I've asked no one to put an application for the seat. I think tonight we've heard some wonderful things about all three candidates. We've seen an overwhelming support of Doug, and we've seen some great support for Ryan through public comment, and I've taken some very detailed notes. And I agree with Councilwoman Robles that we do need to move forward, and those that have spoke tonight, we need to move forward, and we need to heal this city. Whatever's happened in the past needs to be in the past. However, it still needs to be retained in our memory to serve the city well. I'm not sure that I'm 100% committed at this point to deciding on a candidate. I'm open to the discussion and hearing what my peers have to say, and I just look forward to some healthy conversation right now.
Thank you to each of the candidates for coming in tonight and standing up and talking about yourself and your ideas. I appreciate how difficult that is to do that. Giving thought to everything that was going to go on this evening, I had a discussion with Doug. I have not had an opportunity before this point to meet Mr. Sanchez, nor have I had a discussion with Mr. Stevens. And unfortunately, Mr. Sanchez, I know Mr. Stevens and Mr. Wilson, and that put you at a little bit of a disadvantage coming in here, but I truly appreciate your difference of perspective. And
You knocked on my door.
during the campaign, but not recently. So did I talk to you?
Yes, you and your husband.
husband was behind you.
Okay. He does that occasionally. Most people remember me because of my husband. I had a lot of people reach out to me in support of Mr. Wilson. And as much as we don't have an election, it was interesting the diversity of people that reached out to me in support of Mr. Wilson. And as we go forward, I'm the one that said, you know, it's going to take a while to have anyone come up to speed, and about that time, it's time for an election. And I did ask my fellow council members to consider leaving this vacant for that reason. I think it's a very difficult learning curve. And so as you consider who to appoint to this position, if you set aside personal feelings about personalities, maybe differences of opinion, and you look at experience, and you look at difference of perspective, and the difference of perspective that might be needed on this council at this time, I'm just going to ask you to consider those things. At this point, I'm saying still, I think it's a short-term filling of this position. I think it's clear that there's a division in our city and who they would want as a representative. However, I do agree with Councilmember Robles that just because somebody has run for an election and lost doesn't mean that in the future that they would continue to lose. We look at somebody like President Lincoln and all the losses that he suffered before he was elected. So I don't think you can take that into consideration. But I ask you, council members and Mr. Mayor, to consider difference of opinion, background, perspective, and experience in who you consider to fill this position. Thank you.
And as usual, I get to be last. Yes, we have gone through some cantankerous times. I have the honor of having been the target for a lot of that. Even as far back as someone tried to make an issue of where I was born, because I was born in Germany. Of a military father who was serving this country after World War II, but someone tried to make me look like a Nazi because I was born in Germany. And when everyone was asked, did you have anything to do with that? They all said, oh, no, 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 no. So it must have been phantoms from outside the city that did it. As late as last week, we have Voice of the People, letters trashing candidates, making false statements, totally false. We had organizations make false statements and lie to the community and print it in the paper. Oh, we don't need to be a committee. I'm dealing with the Fair Political Practices Commission on a daily basis, and they say we don't need to file. Lie. They had to file, and now they're catching up, trying to answer all the questions that the Fair Political Practices Commission is asking about their organization. So, how do I put all this stuff aside and move forward? Mr. Wilson has come out tonight and has said all the right things. It sounds very good. But he was one of the leaders who decided to say Measure C was all about Walt and Bernardo running for election next year. That was the farthest thing from my mind. The only thing has been on my mind for this community is this community, its survival, and its well-being. This council has worked very well together. We've made decisions, tough decisions, and we've always made them as a council of one. We've had some spirited discussions. We've disagreed, but when the rubber met the road, we always did what was best for the community. And when I decide or I choose who I'm going to cast my ballot for, that's what I've got to look at. Someone whose best interests are this community, not their personal interests. That's it.
And I just want to remind you, I was on that flyer with you.
Yes, you were.
As your puppet. And I found it in my heart. People come and tell you things. I do know now who was responsible for that.
Me too.
And I want to move on because there is a need to, everyone said, we have to heal this city, we have to move forward, and I think by making no decision, we make the decision not to heal.
Agreed. Okay. Everyone's had their say. We want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for Doug Wilson.
I'll second it for vote.
There's a motion to appoint Doug Wilson, City Council member. Please vote.
Motion approved unanimously.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, the previous vote was still up. Can we ask you to vote once again? All our apologies.
Please vote again.
Mine was a no. Is it mine that's not reading?
We have 2 noes and 2 ayes.
Another motion. I move to appoint Ryan Stevens. There's no second? Any other motions?
Motion fails for lack of a second.
I have no further motions.
Yeah, I guess we're going till November with an empty seat. Thank you all for coming out, and I apologize for wasting your time.
Well, wait, well, I don't think it was a waste of anyone's time. We had discussion in public view.
We're done.
And we definitely know that we have individuals that are interested in the council seat and hope that that would bring you out and run a campaign and let our people choose.
Okay. Under new business.